king has married, and I owe my new queen a wedding gift.
Hello and welcome back to another Rob Reviews. Today we'll be looking at Game of Thrones Season 3, Episode 9, The Reins of Castamere. Let's get started. So now that you stopped crying, let's talk about Episode 9. And yes, it was terrible because it's just so heart-wrenching and, but yet so good. I loved every minute of this episode so far because it showed the full extent of the show and what it's about, with every single character coming up straight to show off their true performance, especially with Catelyn Stark, which by far this was her best performance in this series. So that's saying something right there. The relationship between Robb and his wife in this episode was heart-wrenching, and the whole scene with all those three characters with Walder Frey was basically reminded me of a Shakespearean play. It was a tragedy, and it was a brilliant tragedy. This whole downfall of Robb, him trying to avenge his father, and I made a video about it. You guys go check it out, about the whole discussion with Robb and him dying. So, since this is a huge, big topic to discuss, this review might be a little bit long. So, we'll jump into other things in the beginning, delving with the Narrow Sea. So, across the Narrow Sea, we have Dany with Jorah and Barristan and Daario, which all are planning the taking of Yunkai. So, originally I thought that Daario might betray them at first, but he proves that his loyalty to Daenerys, and Daenerys is... I was a little questionable with this, because Daenerys is really falling for him, but she has a good reason to, kind of. She's only like 17, 18 in the show, I think, so she is very young, very naive, and even though she's a strong ruler, she's still learning, and, you know, this is her first crush, basically, she has. She hasn't really had a lover besides Drogo, which was from Season 1. She was kind of forced into that, so, by her sick brother. And Jorah is noticing this a lot, especially when he came back after the battle. And he comes to her, and she says, "Where's Daario?" And you could even tell him that the look in his face is like, "Are you shitting me right now? You're worried about Daario when I've been helping you out for the past 2 seasons and a half with all of this." And here he comes, Daario strolling in, looking like Fabio, right? So with the flag of the city, brings it to her. That got me mad. But the funny thing is that there's people out there who want this Fabio-looking guy to get together with Dany. I'm like, why? Let's talk about the battle scene as well. The battle scene was well coordinated. The way that they performed that with the actors and coordinating their roles in the fighting scenes was great. And I thought that Grey Worm, Daario, and Jorah all performed well during that scene. It was awesome to see some more sword fighting. And we didn't get a lot of sword fighting this season, but that's fine. And they make it up here. It was really good to see that. I wish, it would have showed them a little bit more with them escaping, but it was good because you didn't know, will they die? Or will one of them die? And none of them die, which is pretty strange because at least 20 more guards came up to them, and they just took down all 20 of those guards and just brought down the gates. So I was curious to see how the hell did they do that, but nevertheless, they're just badasses. How about that? Okay, so and it was cool. You got to see all three mixtures of the culture. We got to see in their fighting techniques. We got to see Grey Worm's technique with the spear and the shield, and we also got to see Dario with his, I forget what that's called. It's like a wraith or whatever. His fighting technique, which was the Dothraki use as well, in that weaponry. And then we also got to see Jorah with basically just his sword and an armor. And we got to see all three of those fighting techniques and styles getting played out, and to see all the mixtures coming together, which is really fantastic. Alright, let's get back to Westeros in the north. In fact, this whole episode took place in the north, regardless of across the Narrow Sea, which is very interesting. There was no King's Landing at all present. And this is the first episode without Tyrion in it as well. Fun fact. So, basically, we'll start off with Sam. He has like a very small scene, and a lot of people were complaining that he didn't really fit in this episode. Well, not really, because he even talked about the secret location of the hidden door that passes through the wall and out the back for them to get by. And he knows the location. He was talking to Gilly about it, too, if you missed that whole conversation. That's fine, because there was so much stuff going on in this episode that you might not even remember that. He knows the secret passageway to get through on the other side of the wall, and so he's going to show Gilly that, because he memorized it with books in his mind. And he's a wizard, apparently, as Gilly would say, which is great, because that look on his face was freaking priceless. Moving from Sam, we'll go to Bran. We see that he has the ability to control the minds of people through Hodor, which we saw, which was unbelievable in this, because even Jojen, he says that he's never seen anybody do this before. No one has done this before, and this is the first time he's ever met somebody doing this. So it just goes to show you that Bran might be destined for something greater, and that's why he needs to meet the Three-Eyed Raven, because maybe he'll become an all-knowing being or something that could play in the balance with like the lives of all of Westeros. Maybe he's the key of winning the war against the White Walkers. We don't know, and that would be a very cool to see if that was true. We also see that Osha is now going to separate from Bran by taking Rickon to the Umbers, which was, if you remember, John Umber. He was the first one in Season 1 to proclaim Robb Stark as the king in the North. How is that going to play out? In the books, Rickon does not have a point of view in the third book, so it would be curious to see if they're going to take that as a direction to show his perspective of them going to Umber. But I don't know. I don't think we'll see Osha and Rickon for a long time, because their journey's kind of unimportant right now, because you have Bran going up in the north, and I think they're just going to focus on that. Now, how they're going to get past the wall? Well, they could potentially use the door that Sam was talking about, and that's way how they can get back across on the other side of the wall. Now, they don't want to go to Castle Black because we learned that it's being under siege, which is a reasonable statement by Bran. You know, they don't know if they're going to live if they get there. It was very emotional to see this all coming together, and that Rickon and Bran are now splitting off. So the Stark family is more separate now, you know? And it's just so sad to see that, especially when Rickon went to go hug Bran after Rickon had like his only lines in the freaking show. And it's just very sad, emotional to watch that. The two brothers leaving each other and going off in different directions. They're probably never going to see each other for a very, very long time. Also, this was a great opportunity in this episode to have a lot of the characters connecting together again through Bran saving Jon. He got to see Jon again. He got to help him out, and now he knows he's alive, and which gives him a greater strength and confidence to help out. We even see the look of Jon's face. He knows that is Bran's direwolf. He saw it in the combat. And he even looked over and he saw it. He's like, oh my god, he's nearby. And at first he probably thought it was Snow, but no, it turns out it's Bran helping him out. So we got to see those two characters connect. We also got to see Arya connect by almost making it to her family. But we'll get to that later. Stay on this for now. So now Jon is now escaping the wildlings and moving towards. So Jon at the moment was tasked with killing this horse farmer at the mill. You can just tell that he doesn't have it in him to kill an innocent. You know, he can't do it, and Orell knows that. That's why he plays into that. So right when he's about to swing, he hesitates, stops. Ygritte kills him, and then he's exposed. And we got to see that Ygritte was actually standing by Jon Snow, ready to defend him, which was actually great to see. If you notice, he shouldered her away from him, which caused her to fall over. That's because he doesn't want her to be killed because of him. He was trying to protect her in his own way, but Ygritte's attitude is like, no, you die, I die. And that's why she was totally offended when he left her behind, which is pretty sad, because she was ready to die for him, and then he just leaves her behind, and he has no choice because he has to get to the Night's Watch and warn everybody. And if he brings her along, they might really suspect him about being a wildling and say, why are you bringing her here? She's a woman, and she's a wildling. What the hell were you doing? This is the only way he can come back to Castle Black with his reputation not soiled, basically. And we're seeing that Ygritte, her motion at the end when he left her behind, she lost it all. She lost everything because he ran away from her after she's... That's my dog. So my theory with Ygritte is that she's probably going to attack Castle Black with all the wildlings in revenge and retaliation against Jon Snow because of his betrayal towards her. And it is a betrayal, and she does have a right to do that. You know, it's her life and her love that she gave to him, or what I guess you presume is love. Maybe it was just a booty call, but who knows. And we'll have to see how that goes. You know, this is a whole different direction for Jon Snow and Ygritte. They're, you know, if people thought they would get together, well, maybe not, you know. So we'll have to see what happens towards the end. Moving from Ygritte, we'll go to Arya Stark, who is with the Hound. The Hound and Arya are an interesting combination. Arya is always paired with such a great cast of characters. With in season 1 with Syrio Forel, season 2 with the guy who could change his faces, plus the guy from the Night's Watch with her in the beginning, and even Tywin Lannister at one point. Holy shit. I mean, there's so many cool things that people she interacts with, and now she's interacting with the Hound. So it's an interesting pairing. And then the Hound is trying to scare her, and at first thinks she's just a little girl and she doesn't know anything, when in fact he's gaining a sense of respect for her. If you saw it with when she challenged the Hound when he was about to kill that man, and you saw the Stark sense of honor come into play there, with even though she's lost everything, she still has a sense of honor, sense of code that she goes by. And of course that code that she has, the Hound says, well, one day they'll get you killed. And going back to Jaime Lannister, he did the same thing with Brienne to help him after Brienne said not kill him. And look what that got him. That got him in prison with Bolton. It's interesting to play with those aspects. And Arya, okay, it was really funny when she clubbed him over the head. That was awesome. Like she knows where the line is, in her sense of honor. But then, so she knows when to stop, not kill anybody. And that was a scene where it was also funny too when she did that, and it made the Hound go back, and he's like, oh, well, I didn't expect her to do that. And I that's where that sense of respect in comes into play there that I notice. And also, it was just great to see, even towards the end, when Arya um, goes to the twins and sneaks past the gate and then just sees Greywind just die right in front of her eyes. She rushes to him, but the hound stops her and says it's time to go. And he has no cause to do that. He has, the people who would have paid her for her are dead. She's nothing to him. And why does he save her then? Well, it's probably because he's not the boogeyman. He's not this evil being, this evil guy. He is a regular person. He's just, and he even says that there's worse people than me. And this proves it. There's 10 times worse people than the Hound out there. And he shows it. And hopefully Arya will, have a nice sense of respect for him as well for saving her life. What the effects of this scene will be for her, it's unknown at this point. She has a lot of people to add to her kill list now, that's for sure. How she's going to get her revenge remains to be seen. It also goes back to that coin with season 2 with the face changer. He gives her a coin, and so that's a trinket for probably a calling card, maybe for another kill. Who knows? So we'll see what that does and comes into play there. Looking at my dual monitor right now. Am I forgetting anything? After Arya. Oh yeah! The moment you've been waiting for. The Red Wedding. the famous triple entendre kill of Robb Stark, Catelyn Stark, and Talisa Stark. Talisa Stark. I don't know where Talia came from. That was such a beautiful scene in terms of tragedy. It was perfectly orchestrated. It really was. And the addition of Robb Stark's wife there was just phenomenal. And I went into a lot of detail in my other video. That scene had so much energy, and it had so much life to it. You can see the raw emotion coming from Catelyn Stark, as I said before, and she deserves a freaking award for that, just that episode alone, for her performance there. And it also must be so grueling and tiring for the cast, that has gone to know these actors over the years, having to kill them off for the sake of the story. And it's like, I watched a documentary and with one of the main guys on this, and he says it's like losing your favorite cousin, them being sent over to a different country or something. It's pretty sad when you have all that, but for the sake of art, for the sake of the story, you got to do it, and they did it, and it was perfect. Nothing was flawed about it. I guess for plot convenience with Blackfish leaving, but he had to take a piss, so can't blame it. Other than that, I really enjoyed this episode so much. There was just great stuff going on with everything. And you could talk about the downfall of Robb, and in reality, it proposes debates with other people. If he could have done anything differently, he should have married the other person. Oh, and let's just talk about Walder Frey for a second, how his mind worked. He presents his wife to Edmure, and she's cloaked in a veil, and I thought, oh man, she must be really ugly. But then when we get to her, she's beautiful, and Edmure loves her. She's like, oh, and Walder Frey's looking at Robb, and he's like, you could have had that. And it brings to the question, what is love, basically? But is it a physical emotion, or is it love at first sight? Is it, why did Robb like or love Talisa. And I think it was more for personality as a character, her determination on the battlefield to help out other people, despite her being highborn, that he fell in love with. So, it's more to it than just physical traits, but Walder Frey can't really see past that because he's an old, decrepit man who loves to kill people. I hate him. But in the end, it left a lot of heartaches, a lot of sorrow, and this episode accomplished so many things, and it's going to be the high point of Game of Thrones as of now, to just lay out the rest of the series, what's going to go happen with the rest of the series, since the Lannisters basically won. Well, they still have to deal with repercussions of their actions, right? So the biggest thing that stands out to me right now is Littlefinger. Okay? You just killed the one person in the world that Littlefinger cares about, which is Catelyn Stark. He truly cares about her. That's his whole persona right now. That defined him was when he fought against Ned Stark's brother for her and lost. That's what made him rise up out of the gutter and just carry himself all the way to the position he's in now. And to disregard him as a major player would be so stupid. And it's so scary too, because he's in position of power right now because he's marrying Catelyn Stark's sister in the Eyrie, so he's going to have an army after that. And what's he going to do? Is he going to kill Tywin Lannister? Probably not, but what is he going to do? He wants chaos in this world, and you just gave him 10 times more reason to create this chaos. And Varys will probably know about this, and he's going to be freaking out, and Tyrion's going to be freaking out, because they're the only ones who probably care about Littlefinger at this point. And what he's going to do, no one knows. It's hard to say right now. He's definitely pissed. Definitely pissed. And then also you have Talisa's parents were in Volantis. They're probably going to retaliate eventually with Daenerys, as I said before. They're probably going to meet up with her forces, and then they're probably going to attack the South. So there's so many theories and speculate on. So it's just a great show. It really is. And I can't wait to see what happens next episode. It's probably going to be looking at the carnage, examining all the people who've died from this incident with Tywin Lannister creating this at the Freys. So it's sad, it really is sad, and it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. Overall, I would give this episode a 10 out of 10. This is 10 out of 10 quality right here, and it goes up with one of my favorite episodes of Game of Thrones. And I have to say that the book Storm of Swords was one of my favorite books I've ever read before in my life. So it was just great, and it's sad and beautiful. Such a good tragedy. It's a modern day tragedy. Modern day tragedy, I mean by being written by George Martin. So anyway, thanks for watching my review. Let me know what you think down below. Did you like the episode? Did you hate it? You probably really did hate it. But besides the point of them dying, what did you think? So, I'm curious to see your reactions. I got a lot of responses on the last video I did. So just let me know in the description below. Like this video, or subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Alright, this has been Rob Summerhays signing off. I'll see you guys on the next show. See ya.